All right, back here on Chicago Sports Overtime, I'm Tina Nguyen, and time now for our weekly segment with former Bears offensive lineman Steve Edwards. Steve, thank you so much for joining us here at Fox Chicago. Let's jump right into this. A tremendous game from the Bears and Packers yesterday. Bears falling to the Packers 28-21. Their 5-game win streak comes to an end. But when you watch this game, you saw the fight from this Bears team that was down 11 at the half. If I'm a Bears fan, you're disappointed at the loss, right? However, you've got to be somewhat encouraged with how far this team has come in such a short period amount of time under Ben Johnson.
Yeah, the Bears continue to show you that they have the capability of playing with anybody in the NFL, but also that a game is never over. In the past, Green Bay being up, about that amount of points on us is something that will usually be done. You'll be switching over to another channel, but this Bears team, you can't tell me anybody who's out there who's a Bears fan that you felt like this game was over. You knew the Bears had a chance to get back in this game, and they did. And that's the thing that's promising about the culture that Ben Johnson's established and where this team is going. And even in the disappointing loss, you feel really good about where this team is going and heading into the rest of this season and also in the future.
Did you like the play call on 4th and 1 on that final play there by the Bears? Caleb Williams had a number of pass options. It's a play that's worked before. The motion and fake got to Green Bay a little bit because the player that actually picked off was actually supposed to be DJ Moore's guy. So did you like the play call?
I try not to sit here and be critical of Ben Johnson because he's so great, but I don't like the play call. As an offensive lineman, I was telling people today,
Okay.
4th and 1, game on the line. I want you to run behind me. Let's run behind us as an offensive lineman, all 5 of us. We want that 1 yard. We want that 2 yards. We believe it can get done by just simply running behind us. And, I don't like the play call because we had them on their heels. We had them tired. That was all what was going on in the second half. And, you put a Kyle Monangai behind that offensive line, and we'll deal with it. Let's make them stop us. Do the bootleg off to your left. You're going away from the yardage. Obviously, you can break that down as many ways you want to, as far as Caleb and should they have ran, DJ leaking out late, or the throw to Cole Kmet. Bottom line, I just feel like you go for it in that situation.
All right, let's talk more about this game, Steve. You are a former offensive lineman. Let's break this down first half to second half. First half, especially those first 2 drives for the Bears, couldn't really get into a rhythm. Micah Parsons was held without a sack in this game, but how did you see this Green Bay defense, top 5 in the NFL, and Micah Parsons himself make things uncomfortable for Caleb Williams and the offensive line in the first half?
Well, you felt his presence in the first half. First of all, the Green Bay, one thing you saw out of them, the team speed on defense. This defense flies around. They're very physical. They play with a lot of tenacity. Michael Parsons is the key cog to all of that. Though he didn't get a sack, he was causing a lot of havoc, lining up in all kinds of different areas. In particular, the one sack that Caleb took a really hard hit on, it was all because of Michael Parsons. He was lined up, stand-up 3 technique over Jonah Jackson, who he lined up against and gave a lot of issues to throughout the game. He was lined up in 3 technique, and what he did was come down and pick Darnell Wright, which allowed the defensive end to loop around. And that's when you saw Caleb try to avoid and step in the pocket and took that really hard hit, which I thought maybe Caleb had been dinged up a little bit. And I think he was for a couple plays where he kind of looked out of sorts. But Michael Parsons was causing all kinds of havoc, moving around the offensive line, on the D line, and picking his spots where he could try to take advantage. So even though he didn't get a sack, we felt his presence a lot in that first half.
Yeah, talk to me more about facing a player like Micah Parsons, still 12.5 sacks on the season. I talked to one offensive lineman in the locker room on Friday. He told me he's so quick at getting off the ball. He's got a dangerous move on the inside. And as a lineman, especially for a rookie like Ozzie Trapillo, he'll make you panic a little bit when you're facing him. So how terrifying is it to face someone like Parsons? Because a reminder, the Bears are going to see Green Bay again on December 20th.
Well, you talk about a get off. That's the number one thing that I think could be strike fear to offensive linemen is the get off. I remember those days of going against Tommy Harris at practice, and his get off was so quick, unlike you'll see out of anywhere in the NFL. So Michael Parsons possesses that capability. It's just that first quick step that gets you off balance, and then the ability to counter you. He has it all. He can bull rush. He has strength. He has leverage. With the quick step, he can get you off balance and club you inside. He might be more undersized than most of those offensive linemen, but the fact that he has pound for pound strength, and has that ability to get you off balance. He can knock you over and get to the quarterback, and that's the issue that I think the Bears handle well in the second half. We'll talk about that, but he is a guy who you have to account for. He does strike fear into you, but there are solutions to handling Michael Parsons.
Yeah, you mentioned the second half. The Bears finally found their footing a little bit more. They were down 11 at the half, able to tie this thing up in the fourth quarter. What did you see from Ben Johnson and the adjustments he made as a play caller in the second half? I feel like one thing about Ben Johnson that people don't talk about enough, he knows when to call the right play at the right time.
Well, Tina, you called it. I remember we were texting. You were saying this the halftime adjustments that I think you said it was underrated by Ben Johnson. And I was like, totally, that's a great point because when they come out in the second half, if that offense is struggling, and it has been the case where we haven't been off to the best of starts in some of these games, but in the second half, you see another gear come out. You see some adjustments that they are taking advantage of on defenses. And the one thing that they were able to do was get back, one of the simple things was get back to who they are, was running the ball and mauling these guys and laying their bodies on Green Bay. But it was the usage of the boots and the waggles and getting Caleb out to the perimeter, and with play action on those boots and waggles. Those are the things that, and when Caleb's capability of, and his athleticism to get outside the perimeter, it had that defense off the on the ropes. They got tired. You saw that throughout the game, and particularly as we were going down for that last drive, we seen them. We had them on the ropes. Just a constant pressure with the run game, and the boots and waggles really wore them out. And I think that was a excellent. This maybe not the most complex game plan, but really simple. Just like, hey, let's do this, and you saw that it worked.
Yeah, Bears right now 9-4, on the season. They'll face Green Bay again on December 20th at Soldier Field. Let's talk about Caleb Williams, though, and his escapability, his ability to extend plays, use his legs, right? Micah Parsons had some encouraging high praises for him, too. Talked about how dangerous he is as a quarterback. What did you see from Caleb Williams yesterday and how he handled overall the Green Bay pressure?
Well, you saw at one point, if you saw Michael Parsons put his hands up, they caught it on the TV camera, where he was like just confused and frustrated because he couldn't get his hands on Caleb. And it was tough. I mean, Green Bay did a lot of overloaded blitzes to the front side, and we just didn't do a really good job in picking those up. And Caleb does what he does best, and I don't know how he does it sometimes. When you think you have him, he gets out of there, particularly the one pretty much that pocket that collapsed down. He moved up in the pocket and he like hurdled somebody, and that's the one Tom Brady is just like, I just don't know what is going on here. It's unbelievable, his ability to get out of there. And as an offensive lineman, you love it because sometimes you get beat and you're just like, that's a sack right there. And nope, it's not. Caleb's escape. So as an offensive lineman, you love his escapability. I think obviously in the second half he did a lot better with the pressure and handling that. Obviously we talked about the game plan of running the ball in boots and waggles, but also in the pocket, he was able to see some of those pressures, and we picked him up a lot better in the second half. In the first half, I think it wasn't so much just the pressures. I think Caleb was a little off in the first half, but he did a great job adjusting to it. And I think that this bodes well for his growth. I know, a lot of people are down on his play, but I see a guy who is handling a lot of pressure, going to get some of the top defenses. And I like what I saw out of him, particularly in the second half, handling those pressures.
I know that Ben Johnson is reshaping the way Caleb Williams plays the quarterback position, but why are we seeing the off-target throws? Because as a fan, someone who's watching the game, even as a media member, they're frustrating at times to watch and see.
Yeah, it is frustrating. You know, you see this a simple throw, or you see the ball skimp off the ground. I don't know if it's him being too juiced up, his fundamentals. I don't know. I know that's something that I don't know if Ben Johnson really goes into, but I just take it as maybe it's a little combination of all of it, a little juiced up, a little, meaning juiced up, meaning just a little too hyped. And then also just his fundamentals and forgetting about those things. And somehow he's able to kind of just get snap back in there moments at games. You see it where he does snap back in and everything starts to click. But yeah, those early on ones is the ones you want him to start cleaning up and getting better at, because that can make the difference in the game. And instead of us trying to come back in the second half, maybe we get off to better starts. But it's a lot of things that go into that. Receivers dropping balls, receivers slipping, things a lot of that nature. Free rushers in his face. So it's a lot, but yeah, you want him to make those easy throws. But that's something I think can be fixed. The ability that explosive plays that he creates is something you can't teach. Those things can be taught. You just hope that they get ironed out each week, and you just hoping every week. I think we all look for him to take this major step, but he's consistently getting better, and we'll see where he goes, and hopefully he can get those things fixed within this season.
Let's talk about the run game real quick. I want to give you a chance to talk about Kyle Manungai because we both love the way he runs, right? And also the run game doesn't happen without the guys up front, right, doing their job, creating the lanes and everything. But what did you like most about the run game, but especially the rookie Kyle Manungai who runs so hard between the tackles?
Well, you could just go right back to when whatever happened to that other guy's helmet, that piece that popped off
Yeah.
his helmet that Tom Brady talked about. He just runs with so much force. And that's when you think that there's going to be a team that's going to just stand him up. He's so low to the ground. He already has leverage. He just doesn't go down, and he runs so powerful. It changes the defensive mindset. They know they have to bring a hard hat, and I mean he's running over 3 to 4 guys, 5 guys a game. For an offensive lineman, you just know when you got a guy like that, you know he's going to push forward. If we can get some movement on the line, this guy's going to push forward for 3, 4, 5 additional yards just based on pure effort and ferocity in his approach to running the ball.
Yeah, he's a guy that's tough to take down, always pushing the pile. All right, Steve, my final two questions for you. The first one is, what kind of grade would you give the offensive line yesterday against Green Bay?
I would give the offensive line a B minus. You
Okay.
know, obviously in that first half, we gave up a lot of leakage. We didn't handle the pressures well, and I give them a B because it could have been the game plan. Why didn't we get the ball running and been more committed to the run game in the first half? But in the second half, you saw what they do best is just lay into guys, drive people off the ball, and as great as that Green Bay defense is, they started to get really exhausted out there, and you saw the wear and tear that this offensive line was having on them with Kyle Manungai and Swift in the backfield. So B minus for the O line. So it still puts them, where I think they are one of the best offensive lines out there. Just a very talented Green Bay front, and I think in the second half to neutralize Micah Parsons the way they did shows a lot as well. So B minus for this group, and hopefully we'll get an A out of them next week.
Listen, the Bears will have their hands full once again because, yeah, they're going to be facing Green Bay on December 20th. When you look at this loss, what can they take away from it, and how can they have the edge here as they face Green Bay a second time?
Well, you can look at it as, Green Bay, as you just watch that team, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. And I hate to give Green Bay any credit, but they are one of the best teams in the NFL, period. they're going to be one of the contenders. And what we showed is if in the second half, we basically made it a game. We had opportunities to win it. If we play a better first half, it's a totally different game. It's a totally different ball game. We left a lot of plays out there, and that's promising because the next game will be here in Soldier Field in Chicago on a Saturday night, prime time, and we'll be live. But obviously, that's in a couple of weeks. We got to make sure we take care of business against Cleveland Browns and make sure we don't have any slip-ups there, in which they're going to present a major challenge as well.
Bears with a chance to split the series with Green Bay this season. They are now 9-4 on the season. And Steve Edwards, we always appreciate your time so much. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week, right?
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Tina.